And it is time for the Backyard Brawl, West Virginia and Pitt coming up. And Coach, when you take a look at Todd Graham's offense and your offense, you were asked this question on Tuesday during your press conference, and the question was, what are the similarities, what are the likes, what are the differences? And while some people might think it's the same stuff, you say completely different beginnings for both. Explain a little bit on that.
Well, it's kind of where they originated from is where I was going with it. There's a lot of spin-offs. I watched something which, Coach Leach was here last week, and that background is Hal Mumme, University of Kentucky, and then Mike went to OU, and then from there it's branched out, not only Texas Tech, Houston, West Virginia, Baylor, Houston. It's got a lot of the same backbone where, Coach Graham's offense is more, the Gus Malzahn background where it came from, really Arkansas high school football.
And they like to run the ball. If you would, talk a little bit about the difference that they have in their philosophy when it comes to running it.
Yeah, and we want to run the ball first, and we want to make sure that we run the ball enough to where we have teams play us honestly. You look at what they've been trying to do offensively, it's always been started with the run. And if you look back at what Auburn did last year, which again, it's all the same stuff. I mean, Auburn was about a 70% run team, so they're going to try to run the ball a little bit more than we will.
What's the challenge for you? What's the challenges for coaches this time of the year as you get toward the end of the regular season schedule to make sure that your kids stay sharp, but at the same time still have their legs?
Yeah, it's a balance that you never really know exactly what you're trying to do. I mean, you want to take the pants off of them as much as you can. You don't want to hit as much. You don't want to go good on good as much, but you still need to be physical and you still need to keep the speed of the game. So I think what you do is you just reduce what you're trying to do. You got to keep the same practice format. You got to keep the routine. You got to hit. You got to play good on good. You got to keep the speed of the game good, but you don't want to overdo it.
What's a Seniors Day mean to kids, do you think? Through your years, what do Seniors Days normally produce?
Memories. This is one thing that we're going to talk about all week is to make sure that we send the seniors out on top. I mean, and that's what everybody talks about during the Senior Day. But we started early in the week as far as making sure that everybody involved, coaches, players, support staff, whether you're scout team, whether you're first team, second team, or whatever. I mean, our goal is to send the 16 seniors out on top, and it's not just the 16 seniors that need to give a little bit more. It's everybody else needs to give a little bit more to make sure that they go out with a positive memory.
You had last weekend off. How much did that help in preparation?
It helps. You don't want to overdo it because if you overdo your opponent, you're going to get some diminished returns. So, we healed up. We got everybody in a jersey to where they can practice. We got a lot of the young kids some work. We got some recruiting work, and we should be at the point where we're ready to go.
Should be a fun night.
Should be.
Wish you the best.
Thank you.
Well, a lot of familiar faces will be looking across the way from each other here during the Backyard Brawl. A lot of former WVU coaches on the Pitt side. And Jeff Casteel, what does that do? Do you kind of think sometimes this week, I know how those guys think, yes or no?
Well, I think that obviously they have an understanding of what we try to do. And so I think that that's probably a little bit of an advantage for them. They're I think offensively they're a mixture of some of the things that Calvin did here and some of the things that Todd has done at Tulsa. So, but it'll be interesting, and it's still going to come down to the kids knocking each other around and tackling, but it'll be interesting.
Do you go counter coordinator on this? You know what they think they know about you. Do you kind of say, I think they'll think I'm thinking this, so I'm going to do something different? Does it get to that point?
You know what? It's just going to come down to getting lined up right and doing your assignment and tackling, and those are the things that you have to do to win games. So I think a lot of that gets overdone, and I'm sure those guys too are talking about their kids blocking and executing plays, and that's what it's about.
When you do take a look at them individually from a personnel standpoint, who raises your eyebrow when you watch them?
Well, you know what, they have some the Brown kid is really, I think, starting to get a little bit more comfortable. Obviously, with Ray being, out for a couple weeks, and he's kind of taken the ownership of the run game. And Hubie Graham is a transfer kid that seemed to always have a tight end, and he's really done a nice job. And they've got some guys outside the street kid that can get down the field, and I think Tino does if you watch him, he does some good things of being able to run the ball. And he hurt us last year running the football, and we have a lot of respect for him. I think he's a tough kid, and I like the way that he competes. So and again, all their movement is a challenge.
You have a senior class here, and you've got a lot of good players on your defense that have been through a lot of snaps for the Mountaineers. What's it mean for you to see the Julian Millers and the rest of those guys playing their final game here at home?
Well, it's you wish, again, you could keep these guys around for a while, but that's the college game, and I think the kids probably won't realize it until it's over. How fast it does go, and you hear those thoughts a lot from the kids, but they're it's tough, and those kids have made a lot of plays, and they've been involved in a lot of big wins over the last 4 or 5 years. So, in fact, I think Najee and some of those guys were coming in on the Fiesta Bowl year. So it's an era that those guys have made a lot of contributions, and they got to pass it down to the young kids and carry it on.
Well, here's hoping they go out with a W.
I hope so, Tony.
Thanks, Coach.